What's up, everybody? People have resolutions, right? It's the new year. So one of the things that I need to do is get organized. Now, granted, this is like controlled chaos already, if you're a fan of the channel, but at least it's mine and it's like organized chaos. Make it cozy. So I love coming in here, tinkering, creating stuff, making cool tools, whatever the case may be. But sometimes like I get overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that I have. And sometimes like it can be that I have 2 or 3 different spaces for the same type of item, like a piece of scrap wood, scrap metal, hardware, whatever the case may be. And it's like, dude, just get it all focused into one area. Or it's just that things are so cluttered and it's just like, well, I have to move all these things to get to the one thing that I need that's all the way in the back of the shelf or in the back of this one cabinet or whatever the case may be. Or the fact that I don't have enough cabinets. Like this section right here, like it's like, why do I have power tools next to a divided section where I have different hardware and pieces of this and that, you know what I mean? So it's like, I want to get some consolidation together. And it's like, I spend a lot of time here and it's become too cluttered. And that's kind of a problem for me because my brain likes to go on side quests. If you feel me, hit that sub button. No, I'm kidding. But like, but seriously do it. Yeah, I'll go on a side quest where it's like, I don't want to go to the Coliseum and find Shadow. Like I need to go to Kefka's Tower. You know what I mean? So it's like something's got to change, man. And it's like this is my shop, this is my space. It's like organized chaos, but at least it's my controlled chaos. You know what I mean? So I need it to be more accessible so that I don't get distracted and my brain doesn't go down these rabbit holes. This is going to be utilizing as much scrap that I already have. And for some of the bigger piece items, like I actually went to the store, and if you go and you look in like their cull wood, C-U-L-L section, that they will give you like a remarkable discount. Granted, they aren't the prettiest and best pieces of wood, as you'll see, right? So I took a few 4x2 1/4-inch material, and you know, granted, like it's coming out the window, but we still got it home, and I saved like 70%. Call it what you will, but like this is gonna be tucked away to make like little drawers and shelves and knickknacks for me to put stuff, but things are gonna be laid out in a way to where nothing is permanent. So if I find a more efficient or a better solution later on down the line, then I can just go that way, go that route. So the first thing that was getting me was like filming the process, and I got extra tripods laying around that I don't really do anything with them, but I also have the like little shop lamps that you get from the hardware store for like $6 each or whatever. Well, I found an auction where I got 3 of them for $6. So one of them I mounted onto the tripod, and then I'm just gonna hang this in the overhead on the I-beam so that it's out of the way. I'm trying to utilize like an area to where if it's not being utilized efficiently, then I'm going to make it be utilized efficiently, because like I was in the military. So if you can find a place to put something, you're going to find it. You know what I mean? But the tripod is it's just held in place with a couple screws on both ends, the head and the tail end. And it's just being held by Velcro so that it can just be easily accessible that way. So I talked earlier about like the deep shelves or whatever. Like sometimes like down here, I've got like stuff in the background. Like, where is this one piece? I know I have this tool, whatever. So the first thing I got to do is I got to get all that junk out. And it's mostly, this is the area where I have my HDPE and polypropylene plastic that I recycle. But I have to make a choice, and I have to make sure that I'm going to keep the stuff that I'm actually going to utilize, which is going to be leaning heavily on the HDPE plastic that I'm keeping and getting rid of the polypropylene. Or PP. And then you go in and you find like, why do I have a printer top? What can I possibly do with this? I'm pretty sure it's ABS anyways, and I can't really melt that for whatever reason. So with this HDPE shelf, what I want to do is utilize some of that cull wood to make like a really deep drawer. That way it's like, I'm not having to pull everything out. I'm just having to pull one thing, which is the drawer itself. I have to reinforce the slats that I did with some leftover pallets. And I also rediscovered these 3 boxes. Like, we can reutilize this, right? I'm trying to utilize as much scrap as possible. These 3, perfect candidates. So with the drawer done, I put in some dividers again with some scrap wood, but then I don't like my repurposed bottles rubbing up against each other. Glass on glass doesn't work out. And I'll leave a link in the description of how I do those glass bottle repurposing. But in the meantime, I'll show you that my strategic collector in me says that, hey, I'm gonna utilize this foam packing sometime, right? So I cut it up and I just make sure that I use like different divider sections. And I also use my little Japanese knife that I made. Another link in description. And of course, I do the Yakisugi front, because why not? It's pine. Pine looks good with Yakisugi. I love it. Again, make it cozy personalization. That's what's up. So you saw that like fake speaker that I had made. I was going to utilize the other half, like the wall side of the HDPE shelf, just to store some of my lesser used tools. That way they're out of the way of the side shelf right here, and I can utilize this side shelf strictly just for my different boxes. Like I've got metal boxes that have Arduino, solar stuff, whatever. So after I got the bins off up here, I figured like I have some of my projects that I've displayed, but I want to utilize all of the little random projects that I've made. So this guy is just a piece of that 2x4 1/4 inch material that I cut down, slapped some white paint on it, put my projects up there, boom. Now they can be prominently displayed because I am proud of them. I think that's like pretty cool. It's like a little accomplishment. Like I love meat wall, you know what I mean? So like that's what's up. So that brings me back to this side shelf right here. The top two sections are pretty much just gonna be utilized the same because I've already have this like drawer system and I'm just kind of compounding off of that right here again. So for these first two sections that I had tools that I didn't really utilize too much, again, I slid those in underneath the workbench. So now I'm just gonna make some dividers that I can put the metal boxes on so that way I can slide these out and I don't have to go and like restack every single time, because if you compound this, like it's so much time wasted. And again, my brain is just like, it could be more efficient, you know what I'm saying? So like, that's why I get distracted this way, because there's a little piece of me that's just like, why do you have to unstack and then stack these back up just to get to the one thing? Doesn't make sense. I did run into a bit of a snag though whenever I was trying to utilize a little shelf above my torch, because I started doing the staple gun, realizing that like I should have left a little spacer at the very edge, and so I redid that. But I just wanted to show it because like, hey, even professionals can make mistakes. All right, so that's like the main area right here. So now like going back to the back, I have like my consumable shelf or my like projects in progress shelf, and above it there's this metal shelf that like, it doesn't, I don't know, it makes sense, but like I just did a build with my friend's old hutch and I repurposed it. I made her a gift for the holidays. She loved it. If you haven't seen that video, I highly suggest it. Link in the description. But I'm gonna replace that with this like mantle that was on the top of the hutch. And I think it's like cool that I'm reutilizing that. And then I can just give, like, we have random wire shelves that are just sitting. I'm gonna donate them. I'll donate them. That's what it comes down to. But I will say though that putting that shelf up solo sucked. Like it was difficult, man. So like, get a friend, get a buddy, get your wife, your partner, whatever the case may be, because it's better with two people, that's for sure. So then on the other side of that hutch repurpose for my friend was the little apothecary section that I saved, and I was like, I'm gonna use this for a future project. And like, what better way to introduce storage than in this video? And I know I have a problem with like not following through, so I wanted to actually do that this time, because I'm like, hey, you remember whenever I make plastic stuff and I was gonna repurpose it into a sign like 3 years ago and then I never did? One thing though you'll notice on the back of this bad boy is that I realized that kickback is a real thing, so just take your time and be safe. I'll say that, and move on to the French cleat action. I've got this from a discount store, so I figured, yo, hammer drill it, boom, measure it, level it, hang it up, and then start filling that bad boy. We're good to go there. So that is next to where I have a bunch of like motors and electronic stuff, so then I can just utilize that for more electronic storage, which makes sense for my flow, right? Major flow. So going back to the project shelf and the consumables, the spray paint section like bugs me to death. And I'll tell you why, is because like we have one of these like spice rack shelves, and I was like, oh, I can just utilize it because it's like a spice rack, but it's paint cans, right? It's the rattle can. And I'm like, I've lived with it for long enough. I can't live with it anymore. I hate it. It's got to go. I'm going to donate it or burn it or launch it into space or something, because I hate it, man. So what I did with that is that like I just wanted it to be like better ease of retrieval. And I figured that utilizing like extra, you know, again, just scrap wood at an angle, I could just put my rattle cans in there, and then for the top layer itself, it could just be used for the respirators that are associated with it. Why not? Makes sense to me, and it's easily accessible, which again doesn't waste my time. But then I started looking right next to it where I have some of my scrap wood, and I have some pieces of the rails that came from my friend's hutch that I was like, oh, you know what? Like I wanted to display my hammers, because I made a bunch of these. Copper hammer, HDPE hammer. This one's like copper texture. And again, instead of like stacking them with like pegboard ding-dongs or whatever, I figured if they were just right next to each other, I don't have to take one off to get to the third one whenever I have them stacked like that, right? You see the trend here. So it's like, I'm gonna go through here and I'm going to try to get a system together where I'm utilizing those pegs from the hutch. And so I had a little bit of a problem where like it was too long. Again, this bad boy right here, right? It's a real deep shelf, and I'm like, I don't have like the Abe Lincoln arm span. So I had it out more, but it would cantilever itself and it would like bend. So even with pegboard action, like it wasn't utilized properly. And so I'm like, all right. So I cut a little bit off the tip, right? Just like with Moyle Precision or whatever. And then I'm gonna utilize this rod that I just had, and I'm gonna bend it, leaving a little bit of a gap and a 45 at the top of the wood. That way this guy could just kind of like angle itself into position, and it's epoxied in so that I can just start stacking my hammers, and they're just neatly laid out next to each other, which again is nice. So then for my next side quest, I have my cassette. There's something there. There's some kind of like pun or whatever. It was just held together with hot glue whenever I made it. This was pre-Make It Cozy. This was like back in the day. So then realizing that like this guy needed a lot of help, I had to go back to the 90s and channel my inner psychic, and then boom, we're done. Move on to the next thing. So this guy right here, I've had like little boxes of knickknacks and just random stuff. Some of my wood glue, like gum, because I like, you know, I'm very fidgety, go figure. But it's just hanging on with like a chain before, man. So like, again, I had to utilize a hammer drill to get this thing permanently mounted. And then I also wanted to go in with the drill. Like I have my drill right here and like the accessories in the bag and stuff. And then I also need a place to put my new hammer drill. So I figured utilizing that Apple box, it's crazy how it fit around the vent. There's like a vent right here, and it was perfect. Like I could just slide it up, reinforce it into the cinder blocks, and it's good to go. So I figured if that piece of wood was there, I might as well make some little recesses for me to just slide my drills into, and then I put a hook on there to hang my hammer drill. And you have to make sure that you drop the hook, because like that's just par for the course, you know what I mean? All right, one of the last things that was bugging me was the place where I have all my sanding accessories, the consumables. I've got wet, dry, different grits, wire brushes, and this and that. And I was like, you know what, this needs to be better as well. So I'm kind of utilizing the same properties as this little guy right here, except there's going to be little sliding shelves. With the rest of that 4x2 by 1/4 inch material, I just cut into squares, and then we're just going to make a sliding drawer system for better accessibility. But me being me, it needed a little bit of extra coziness. And so you can see my Apothecary Cabinet, my repurposing of toilet paper rolls into these cool boxes, and then I got copper work tools, copper hammers. I've already mentioned that kind of stuff, right? But I want to utilize that for the drawer handles, similar to my Apothecary Cabinet right here. But I had some spare blanks for the copper handles, so I didn't even have to make any more. They were already there. But then again, they're just sitting there, right? So it needed a little extra personalization. So I figured, like, I have the stamping machine over here. I might as well utilize that, and also some scrap copper. So I punch the miscellaneous random orbital sanding pads, the 80, the 120, the 220, and then that way they can just get epoxied in, and that way I know which one is which. And just to make those plaques a little bit easier to read, I just hit them with some ink and then just sanded them down with a little buffing pad. That way, it just pops a little bit easier. Whew. So that's pretty much it. And now all the side quests are complete. Hopefully I can be more effective, more efficient, and I won't get easily distracted by all the little things that I wish I could change. Just knock them all out at once, and hopefully that inspires you to get a little bit better organized, personalize your space. Maybe it's your resolution, all the above, or maybe you are demotivated and it seems overwhelming whenever you can't find a certain thing, or you're overwhelmed with your strategic collecting, right? So, hey, it's like Prosciutto said, collect your potential, and I utilize a lot of stuff today in making my shop more efficient. So that's it for this one. I appreciate you sticking with me. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace. And that's because, like, it's the new year. People have revolutions? They have Dance Dance revolutions? No. Dance Dance revolutions. Resolution? I don't know, dude. I can hear it whipping. I wonder if the camera's picking that up too. What's up, everybody? I'm like surprised. What is the temperature outside?
Right now, it's 19 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, expect a low of 14 degrees.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff, dude. Not really. Not for the shop anyways. And even before the new year, I was thinking like, I'm underwhelmed. Underwhelmed. That's not true. God bless America. Oh, I got a lot of bloopers in this one.